Mary Tower. Darkness. Instead of preface, darkness fell into Tottenham. Insensibly, but unexpectedly and suddenly. One day, the sun went over the horizon and hasn't arisen anymore. Martin was sitting on the top of the hill, waiting for the dawn. At first, he was inspired by hope, but soon it was dragged into the darkness of the world. Nothing left after houses, streets, cars, monuments, trees, even outlines. People lost their silhouettes, either because of their inner blackness, which was similar with darkness, or, on the contrary, because they were crystal clear, therefore invisible in obscurity of night. Everything was absorbed by the pitch darkness. In those first days, people by force of habit went to work, shops, schools. However, by and by, familiar images had been evanescing, even from their consciousness. Darkness had already penetrated here. This kind of routine needs passed away. Nothing existed anymore, except in the body, which was felt due the heartbeat and emanated warmth. Eyes, arms, legs were without any necessity. Only the heart was beating rhythmically in silence, reminding about life being. Though soon had been used to the monotonous knocking, a human stopped feeling his body at some moment, and it discontinued its existence, being captured by the gloom. Nothing existed anymore. Nothing was there, even a body. But something kept on the alert, constantly chatting and forming hundreds of thousands of alternatives, possibilities, and combinations. It was the mind. It still was. But then it was tired and disappeared. I think it fell asleep. Even so, something was disturbing the world silence. Images were appearing. They were uncrystalline and semi-fantastic. Afterwards, they were gone. Every human being of Tottenham was left alone with himself, herself, or even sorry but itself, without tinsels, trumperies, gimcracks, flipperies, distracting things and phrases, face to face, tete-a-tete. Panic and blue funk started in Tottenham. Inhabitants weren't ready to revelation and insight. Ordeal turned out to be back-breaking. In an instant they appeared not outside, but inside, and it had scared. Few people were prepared to recognize themselves, to make out their entity. They weren't drawing away eyes, arms, movements, sounds, ears anymore. There weren't anything unnecessity. It was left the main, the soul. The soul which used to be unheard, whose gospel truth hardly ever had been reaching the ears through thickness of vulgar laughing, low-minded chatting, disgusting behavior and deeds, black evil eyes, and sequence of unreasonable movements. When familiar tinsels had gone, everybody suddenly felt obtuseness of prescribed rhythm, and grasped that was wrong. Acquaintance with themselves was killing all that seemed to be true for the sake of renaissance of existence, everything which hadn't been perceived, but which was the only truth among fancy dress ball of light and shade. Who would like to admit a fact that all toils and trouble were vain, that all the deeds were senseless, running around in circles? Who, except in defeat, could do anything worse bind the length of a half step with life? So panic started in Town M, and it was predetermined. Martin was the only person who was sitting on the hill, waiting for the sun, which would either save inhabitants of Town M or, as usual, protect them from themselves. The first day, there was only one citizen of Town M who was applauding the darkness. It was a man without face. Had lost his familiar outward form. Suddenly he came down in the world. Exterior form destroyed his inner content in people's eyes. Those eyes. They are looking but not seeing. Like Oedipus had made away with them at one time, Town M denied the light for the sake of awakening. Due to the darkness, which absorbed, uglified external shape, the man without face found his identity again. His appearance hasn't caused horror and disgusting anymore. Ugliness of the shape was swallowed up by the darkness, and he stopped being social odd man out. During the first day, hundreds of arms, which henceforth were carrying out his function, have been researching each centimeter of sickening scars, but instead of nasty replicas directed against him, the man without face has heard only timid tones of apology. Soon, the man without face has made a lot of friends and fellows. His altruism and humanity gave birth to overall love and recognition. With the arrival of the darkness, the man without face turned into a glorious creature, ideal that should be sought by everyone. It was considered by his entourage. There was no magic at all. The man without face was the same. Town M hasn't changed, not in the least, and its inhabitants haven't been metamorphosed. Vision was the only thing that was changed. A blind girl, perhaps, was so dwelled on whose life hasn't varied, not in the slightest degree with the onset of darkness, unless, in the opinion of the folks about her, she has turned out into a guide in darkness. From a blind person she has suddenly become the most tired occupant of mysterious town that has lost its light. For an artist, light absence meant global holocaust. All of a sudden he has grasped his futility, uselessness, and helplessness. The fundamental basis of his world outlook has melted into thin air. Shapes, lights, and darks of a picture, all of these stopped their existence. Who is he now? And why he lives? A musician was lucky a bit more. He didn't need light to travel through galaxies. There were a lot of sounds and perfection of reproduced harmonies. A musician used to play with closed eyes. Light presence often distracted him from the core of the matter. In other words, even in darkness, he felt himself quite comfortable, not because of self-sufficiency, but due to existence of musical instrument. The man without face had sickening scars. The blind girl, blindness. The artist, vision. The musician, an instrument. With the onset of darkness, truth that remained, but it was happened reality substitution by means of excessive gloom presence for account of light absence. As a result, a social outcast, the man without face, turned into a national favorite. The blind girl had been leading the crowd. The artist found himself at the crossroads, but the musician had been continuous his traveling through the worlds due to heavenly sounds appearing as a consequence of skillful symbiosis of virtuoso playing technique, humans in a motive and musical instrument.